Let me teach you how to do the dance. Did you like that, Abyssal Sire? You'll never hit me with that appalling gaseous attack. Hey, why are you crunching in? Ah! Good game, Abyssal Sire. Take good care of Skotos. Let me guess. Dark forces somehow brought you back here? Aren't I supposed to pay a mill to get you back? Gosh, tell Probita I said hi. Now that I've got Skotos back, let's talk about the Overseer, who presumably used a little teleportation energy to bring Skotos here. This is a guy who has been stuck in the Abyssal Nexus, where the Abyssal Sires live, for a long time. He was a part of Zamorak's forces during the God Wars, all the way back in Gielonor's Second Age. He was tasked with finding allies on any plane he could reach. He tried to enlist the help of the Abyssal Sires that lived there, but ended up stuck in the Abyssal Nexus. You see, the Abyssal Nexus is on a different plane entirely. The Overseer claims that it is a living pocket universe. There was some food there to begin with, but it depleted over centuries. That forced the Abyssal Sires to create the Nexus, which absorbed demon flesh that became the wall's fabric. They used that stored energy to survive in deep stasis. For his part, the Overseer became a parasitic organism that feeds upon the flesh of demons, which helped him survive up until now. It is unclear whether or not he was parasitic to begin with. The Unsired is a 1 out of 100 chance drop that you get when killing Abyssal Sires. This small offspring gets sacrificed in the font of consumption to obtain a reward from the Overseer. Every time you sacrifice an Unsired, the Overseer gains some power. Once you complete the Abyssal Bludgeon, at a 1 in 2 chance for a piece every time you sacrifice an Unsired, the Overseer teleports away. He manages to escape the Abyssal Nexus with the energy you provided him from sacrificing Unsireds. Congratulations! You released a horror upon the world in exchange for like 40 million GP. Hope you're happy with yourself. I mean, you probably are. 40 mil is a lot. Maybe you even got a pet out of the deal. Now, what in history could this story be based on? I looked up a wide array of demons, but I really had no luck with ancient mythology. Rather, the Abyssal Sire is based on a more modern creation. I was first tipped off to its science fiction roots when I discovered that the soundtrack of the Abyssal Nexus is based on the one from Space Invaders. I then thought about how the setting is a pocket universe, which is not a concept ancient civilizations had an awareness of. I actually asked my mom for help because I was stumped, and she has a lot of knowledge about aliens and pop culture. She pointed me towards Doctor Who. That show has a long history and a broad spectrum of creatures and aliens to choose from. It was also originally from the United Kingdom, which is where Jagex's headquarters are stationed. However, nothing from the franchise seemed to match the Abyssal Sire. There was one detail that finally led me to the correct conclusion. During the boss battle, the Abyssal Sire sends out spawns to come to its aid. These spawns mature into stronger minions called scions if they are not killed quickly enough. Spawns are quite a common creature in modern-day gaming, but scions are not common at all. Searching this term led me to a card game that features both spawns and scions. That game is Magic the Gathering, and the type of creature is known as the Eldrazi. They travel between planes to satisfy a ceaseless hunger. They devour the plane's resources until its destruction. There are 3 Eldrazi Titans that rule the species. These are Emrakul, who warps biology, Ulamog, who warps physical properties, and Kozilek, who warps reality. Each Titan is the progenitor of the Lesser Eldrazi. These Lesser Eldrazi serve as an extension of the Eldrazi Titans into different planes of reality. The Lesser Eldrazi come in 4 subtypes, including spawns, scions, processors, and drones. Spawns and scions are generally the least. They are often sacrificed to provide energy for stronger Eldrazi minions. Abyssal Sires appear to be based on the stronger subtypes of Eldrazi minions. There are similarities in naming and art style, But how do we know for sure that this is the case? Of the 3 Eldrazi Titans discussed in Magic the Gathering lore, which is the most likely to have created Abyssal Sires? The spawns and scions of the Abyssal Sire serve to aid them in battle. They are expendable and used to provide power to their stronger counterparts. This is also true of spawns and scions from all the Eldrazi Titans' lineages. One of the oldest Eldrazi spawns, known as the Elder Spawn, is very close in appearance to the Abyssal Sire's respiratory system. We can infer from this that the respiratory system is actually made up of a network of the Abyssal Sire's spawns. However, this doesn't tell us anything about which Titan the Abyssal Sire belongs to. This next point will yield our first identifier. Abyssal Sires are trapped in the Abyssal Nexus. A similar fate met the 3 Eldrazi Titans, who were forced into a physical form and trapped on a plane called Zendikar. The Titans went into dormancy after being trapped, their drones also going into slumber, just like the Abyssal Sires. The Titans were reawakened a few times and engaged in war for resources over the next several thousand years, devastating Zendikar in the process. The Titans Ulamog and Kozilek were destroyed eventually, but Emrakul survived and escaped from Zendikar. Zendikar was once a realm full of bounty and magical power. One can only wonder what the Abyss was like before the arrival of the Sires and creation of the Nexus. The Eldrazi each left a trail of consumption in their wake, with each Titan's lineages leaving a different trail. Ulamog's brood produced a white, coral skeleton-like substance. Kozilek's produced a trail that resembles bismuth crystals. Emrakul's produced a trail of yellow dust that causes the landscape to resemble living flesh and bone. In terms of plain consumption, the Abyssal Sires have created a nexus of flesh. This is most similar to Emrakul's trail. In terms of anatomy, however, the Abyssal Sires and their spawns and scions appear most similar to the lineage of Ulamog. They have a bony mask over their heads, no eyes, and have completely featureless faces. The lineage of Kozilek has multiple eyes all over their body, which is distinctly dissimilar to the Abyssal Sires, with the exception of the whipping tentacles in the Sire's lairs. Unlike Ulamog's lineage, Emrakul's lineage has many tentacles and is very colorful. However, it lacks the distinct head that Ulamog's lineages possesses. One common classification in biology is the distinction between life forms that do and do not possess bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry is defined as whether a life form is symmetrical when you draw a line from head to tail. We can see that the Abyssal Sire, as well as its spawns and scions, do possess bilateral symmetry. Both sides of their bodies match. By contrast, the Overseer is asymmetrical. Its 2 sides don't match. Both the Ulamog and Kozilek lineages have bilateral symmetry, but Emrakul's doesn't. Abyssal Sires have influences from both the Ulamog and Emrakul lineages. The last factor I'll look at is the basic energy source for the Titans. Ulamog's spawn has rounded faceplates of bone, a set of bifurcated arms, and were virtually harmless in a fight. Emrakul's, by contrast, resembled headless birds or dogs. This final differentiator goes to Ulamog. Its spawn directly matches those of the Abyssal Sire. I conclude that the Abyssal Sires are likely the progeny of Ulamog, even though the Nexus looks like a product of Emrakul. Ultimately, both factions may have influenced the development of the Abyssal Sire. Well, what about the Overseer? Well, because he was a visitor to the plane, he likely appeared much different when he arrived. Over time, the Eldrazi corrupt the land upon which they reside, including the beings who live on said land. There are many examples of this on Zendikar. The Overseer's body has been corrupted by the Abyssal Nexus, even though his mind seems intact. Now that you know where the Abyssal Sire comes from, why not check out my last video on Zulrah? The money snake was a lot of fun to analyze. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to be alerted when my next analysis comes out.